Whether you're an e-commerce brand owner who's just getting serious about customer retention, or you've already hired a designer, launched a few flows, and you're still wondering why your email revenue is still stuck at 8 to 10%. Or maybe you're just tired of watching your paid ad budget bleed out without seeing any real lifetime value from the customers you're attracting. In this video, I will show you the exact email marketing flows that actually print money. They are simple, they are proven, and if even one of them is missing in your Clipview account right now, trust me, you're leaving money on the table. Let's get into it. Alright, so I like to first of all map out your customer journey, because everything that we do in terms of email marketing stems from the customer's relationship with your brand. Right, so the more clarity we have on the customer relationship with your brand is with an ideal brand or with a typical brand, however it goes, is how will inform our strategies to be as optimized as possible. So if you don't know yet, this is the ideal customer journey. Now, this is not a journey that every customer will go exactly through. Like, not every customer will go through this exact journey to make an order with you, but for the ideal prospect and for majority of the customers that you have, this is typically how the journey plays out, and in conjunction with what we'll be discussing in this flows, right? So ideally they visit your website from maybe an ad that you put up or organic traffic, and then they sign up to your email list, and then they visit your website again through that email, and then they view a product, they add product to cart, they proceed to check out, they place an order, giving you a lot of cash, and eventually they churn. What most people don't know is that every customer eventually churns, right? So regardless of how well you treat a customer or how bad you treat a customer, they eventually churn, they eventually grow out of your brand. So that is a point to note. Now, with that being said, let's move into the email touch points that we could leverage. The top 5 email touch points that we could leverage for email marketing flows, which then will cost you a ton of revenue created on the back end, right? So when an email sign up has happened, that's what triggers the welcome flow. I think most brands will know that. If you don't, that is what typically triggers a welcome flow. When a customer views a product, it triggers the browse abandonment flow. When a customer adds product to cart, it should trigger your cart abandonment flow. And when a customer places an order, it should trigger your post-purchase flow. And then when a customer is at churn risk or at risk of churning, it should trigger your Winback flow. So that's basically the top revenue drivers for your in terms of flows. Now we could make an argument that this is also part of it, right? This is when the customer adds a product to cart, and this is when a customer proceeds to checkout. They are both typically referred to as cart abandonment, right? They both typically trigger a cart abandonment flow. We will not go too in depth into the differences about that, the differences between a cart abandonment and a checkout abandonment flow in this video. We'll go through that in another video subsequently, but basically it's sort of like the same idea. The customer adds product to cart, they are close to making a purchase, or they proceed to as far as checkout. We want them to come back to the abandoned cart and finish up to place an order. Now, moving on to the emails, I'm going to quickly dive right into them so you have an idea. So for the welcome flow, which is the first part of the email, you can see the trigger is kind of via a form or pop-up. The purpose of this flow is to onboard the customer, build rapport, tell them about the brand story, and ultimately push them towards the first sale, right? Typically, you need about 5 to 7 emails for this email flow to be at its best performance. A breakdown of each emails. Before we dive into the breakdown, we need to really understand how the customer feels while being at this stage. So typically they are curious but cautious because they're just getting to know you. They are seeking value. They are typically value seeking professionals or individuals. They are also skeptical. They're very skeptical that maybe your brand might just be hype. They're also very price sensitive. They are comparing you with other brands. They are like, is it gonna be worth it, that kind of thing. And then they are also very spam aware, at least lately because they know that they are already signed up to a ton of brands and they've been signed up to brands before that sort of like just spam them with email. So they are very, very aware that you could be a spam brand right now. And so they are very conscious of that also. So you want to be careful. That's why 5 to 7 is the sweet spot. I wouldn't recommend 7 emails for every brand that we work with. It depends on your brand and your niche, right? So diving into the email, number one, the first email, you want to deliver the incentive, you want to introduce the brand briefly, and you want to recommend bestsellers. Just focus on that in email number one. Email number two, you want to share your origin story, you want to share mission and values. This is where you start to build rapport. This is where you start to really get them into your story, get them familiar with you. You want to share brand authority and credibilities also. If you can share the story in form of like an email that goes out from the founder. That works well also. And as you can see, I don't know if you noticed, the hue of the color of these emails sort of like go lighter as we get to the next email. That's because the intent of the buyer decreases as each email fires off, right? So if you don't win them over as soon as possible, like it's your best interest to win them over as soon as possible to make that purchase and get them out of this flow as soon as possible. And that's why we pack the first 4 emails stock full of the best arguments that we have to overcome whatever objections that you have, right? So email number 2, like I said, share origin story. Email number 3, you want to guide them to their needs. Now they might not know exactly where to start from. Maybe you have so many SKUs or you have so many categories, they don't know what to choose from. You want to guide them to your needs. You want to show men's collection, females collection in this email, and you also want to tag those buttons, so depending on whatever they choose, you bring different products to them going forward with that data. And then so show category and collections basically. Email number 4, you want to now ladder on social proof. If a customer reaches email number 4 and they've not still made their first purchase, they still have a lot of questions that you've not answered. One of the best ways to overcome that is to show them that, okay, other people love this brand also, other people have used this product also, and that triggers the psychology of like, oh, if other people are bought from them, they are enjoying stuff, then I would definitely enjoy from them also. And so the best way to do it is to stack reviews upon UGC content, upon press endorsements, things like that. Email number 5, then at this point they have really strong skepticisms that all of this earlier content did not really do much to overcome. Then you want to now tap into their innate emotional should I say psychology by like reminding them of their discount, right? After all, that was the first thing that interested them to sign up to your emails in the first place, right? So remind them that the discount still exists, and then recommend bestsellers also that they can spend that on. And then email number 6, you want to spotlight a category or collection. Email number 6, you can just jump straight into giving them like a final discount reminder, but for a brand that say your customers are more lenient towards you and more okay with, you want to sort of like elongate your welcome flow a little bit. Email number 6, an option you can go for is to spotlight a category or collection or a bestseller and answer FAQs in this email, or just concatenate the 2 emails and do a final discount reminder, answer FAQs, and make sure the content has FOMO and urgency merged into the copy and all of that. So an ideal welcome flow is typically the highest performing flow for brands, and you can see for this brand here that we did about half a mil for about the course of 2 months. You can see the welcome flow is the highest performing, right? So you need to get this right. If you don't get it right, you're losing money. Moving on to the second flow, browse abandonment flow. So the trigger is typically when they view a product but they haven't added to cart yet. The purpose of this flow is to nurture their interest and deepen that desire, because for them to check your product, they have desire for that particular product. So the sweet spot for this is 2 to 3 emails, and as you can see, get it right in the first email, you won't have to stress again. Show the browsed items through each email so that you're not just speaking generically, so that it's tailored to them and it's personalized. Also, you need to understand the customer's mood. They are curious, they are value seeking, they are weighing options. For them to be checking your product, they are probably weighing you with another competitor. They are also very price sensitive at this point, or they could just simply have gotten distracted by kids, meetings, work, and whatnot. So email number one, you want to make it very, very reminder focused, just a nudge. And then in your copy, in this email, you want to tackle price value gap in case they have any price objections, right? Tackle that in your copy right out of the bat. Email number two, you want to also show browse items. That goes without saying. And then you want to stack social proof plus FAQs plus risk reversals in this email. And then email number two, I don't typically do this for most brands, but if you want to go all out, you can add this to the sequence. Show browse items, that goes without saying, like I said, and then offer an incentive plus add urgency to the copy that you write in this email. That will blow your brand abandonment revenue off the chart. So it typically doesn't drive as much revenue as the abandoned checkout, but it does a ton. Also, as you can see, brought 10k within the course of like a few months for this brand. And for this brand also, the brand abandonment wasn't really good on this brand, but it still brought about 3k in the course, 3k that they probably wouldn't have converted or gotten in the course of a few days also. So set it up like that and you are set up for success. Now moving on to the next flow, we're talking about the cart abandonment flow. This triggers typically when a customer adds a product to cart and hasn't actually gone to checkout, right? Emphasis on hasn't gone to checkout, but you can still sort of like concatenate both here, like conflate the two touch points here. But specifically, we're talking about the cart abandonment flow. The purpose of this flow is to remind them of what they have in your cart, add urgency to it so that they don't leave it there sitting too long, and overcome whatever objections that they have. As simple as that. The sweet spot is 4 to 6 emails, and as you can see, customer intent dies out as each email sequence is executed. So you want to catch them as soon as possible. How is the customer feeling at this point in their journey? They are willing to purchase. For them to have added a cart to products, they are likely willing to purchase, but they are not yet convinced. They are emotionally primed, meaning they already see themselves using your product. Their rational mind is screaming for one last check. They need validation from peers or experts, or they simply just got distracted. So email number one here, you want to show the abandoned cart items. In fact, for every email in this sequence, it goes without saying that you have to show the abandoned cart items. This makes it very personalized to the customer. And then for email number one, you want to answer directly and subtly, what is in it for me, in terms of like the customer's point of view, right? How do you do this? You literally just map benefits to features, right? So you highlight some certain features that your general product have, or the specific product they have in your cart has, and you map it to certain benefits that they get, right, from finishing their purchase and all of that. And the thing with all of these flows is that you can really go in depth with them and segment within the flows in such a way that you tailor specific answers and specific product benefit and features depending on what product they have in their cart. This can be done in Clearview. I'm not sure about other ASPs, but you should be able to do that also too. Email number two, show abandoned cart items. I said that. And then you want to articulate the brand's UVP and USP. What is UVP? Your unique value proposition and your unique selling proposition. You want to articulate it here as soon as possible. That helps overcome whatever price objections they have and sort of like take the argument away from price to value, right? Also, it would be great if you can stack on a us versus them showcase here, meaning which is basically an email that compares your product's value versus a competitor product value. That does a great job of converting the customers in this phase. Now for your email number three, you want to showcase social proof and UGC content. If they get to this point and for some reason they still haven't sort of like gone to finish their purchase, you want to showcase social proof, because social proof tends to convert them after. Like if you were to stack social proof on top of the arguments you made earlier in email number one, email number two, it does a good job of converting them at this point. So stack a ton of social proof in email number three. Remind them. You can never get, I don't think the customer can never get tired of you showing them enough social proof, enough customer reviews. Why? Because they don't typically remember the last social proof email you sent to them, right? It's a conscious, should I say, whatever arguments they're having with you, whatever skepticism they're having to you, it's happening in the now. It's not happening in the past, it's not happening in the future, it's happening in the now. So you need to have that argument now and overcome the objections right in the now. So if you're worried that you send social proof email to them in the browser management flow or in the welcome flow, they typically will be a customer that will convert here. They will typically would have converted here, and if they don't, they typically would not even remember your social proof in the other emails. Just keep your social proof very fresh and stack them up with new reviews, UGC content, mix them up to whatever your taste you feel like mixing them up with. Moving on, email number 4 will answer FAQs, right? Because at this point, the customers, whichever customer gets here is very, very rationally, should I say, not convinced. So you want to start making arguments that appeals to their logical mind. So answer FAQs, very, very clear FAQs that you have for people who order from you, and it's order related FAQs that works here. Order related FAQs and product related FAQs, mix them up together. So you also want to mention guarantee and features that appeals to the rational mind a ton, right? And then for email number 5, you also want to, at this point, they're just hell-bent or not finishing their purchase. You want to tap into their innate ability to want discounts on things, right? Now, I would not advise you do this for every customer. You do this for only the customers that maybe haven't purchased from you a while, right? Say your first-time customers or your second-time buyers. I wouldn't recommend you do this for a repeat buyer or a VIP buyer, because they typically would not need that much argument or need that much convincing from you. Because if you implement this even for discount, even for repeat buyers and VIP buyers, then you're teaching them, you are prepping them to always expect a discount from you, and that is not going to be good for a good long-term relationship, right? Also, you start losing margins, so their lifetime value will not really be valuable to you. So segment this and let it go out to only the first time and second time buyer. Offer an incentive to purchase in email number 5, and then remind them of that incentive, and lather on FOMO and urgency into the copy of email 6, and voila, you have your cart abandonment flow. Now, after the welcome flow, the cart and checkout abandonment are typically the flows with the highest second highest revenue, as you can see here and as you can see here, right? So if you don't have it, you're definitely losing a ton of money. Now for the next flow, I think this is the 4th flow, post-purchase flow. This is triggered when orders are placed by a customer, or a customer has placed an order. The purpose of this flow is to set expectations, build trust, and positive rapport, despite the fact that they just spent a chunk of money on you. And then set stage for retention. It's very important for this flow to be out there and doing its work completely. 5 to 7 emails is the sweet spot for these emails because of the amount of because of the timeline of delivery and the amount of content you need to really put into these emails to build that retention. The customer's mood now is they have they've got a dopamine spike from purchase, because when you first purchase something, they're excited to see what it turns out to be. At the same time, they also have like a mild risk concern. Will it live up to the promise? Sort of like a buyer's remorse. Did I spend too much? They're also worried, when will it arrive? How do I use it? Will it even arrive? What if something goes wrong? And things like that. So you need to tackle all of those things. If not, it will bode bad for your brand and customer relationship. So as you can see, the emotion, sort of like the emotion of the customer is not consistent like every other flows. It's sort of like going up and down. It's high, yeah, it's going down a little bit, then it goes all the way down, and then it comes back high again, and then it goes down. Yeah, they are typically like that during this time. So you have to get this right, exactly as I say the email should be, for you to make the most of this email. And then if you get the post-purchase flow right, that would determine if you get it will make a difference between, oh, you get 3 orders from one customer without a post purchase flow, and with a post purchase flow you could get 6 orders from that customer over their lifetime value. It depends on your post purchase flow. Also, the post purchase flow will be sort of like segmented. That there will be a segment built inside an ideal post purchase flow, because the kind of education now content you send to the first time buyer is not the same kind of post purchase flow content you send to a repeat buyer. Neither will it be the same as the content you send to a VIP buyer, and so on and so forth. So, but we won't get into that in depth. We won't get too in depth as that right now in this video. I'll create another video going into in-depth analysis of how you could set up your post-purchase flow and segment it such a way that the content will be tailored to each buyer and stuff like that. But for now, we'll just talk about the first customer. Email number 1 goes without saying: share the order details of what they just placed an order for, show gratitude for the order, and then show a delivery timeline, right? That sets expectations. Email number 2, you want to put a face to the brand. Ideally, this should be a text-only email that goes out from the founder, right? And sparks rapport between the customer and the founder. Also, in his copy or in the messaging, you want to clarify what exactly makes the brand unlike their competitors. So basically, mention a few UVPs and USPs, just to remind them of what they stand to enjoy with the brand, right? So email number 3, they are still hyped, they are still expecting their product to arrive. At this point, you want to position the customer as new family. You want to hype them up. You want to request them to also follow your social media channels. At email number 4, they are probably, if your product hasn't delivered to their doorstep at this moment, they are probably anxious as F. So you want to start sending FAQs to cue whatever anxiety that they have. What if it doesn't get here? What if it doesn't feed? Blah 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 blah. And so you want to reinforce confidence in you with real user reviews at this point. So ladder on a lot of social proof into the email, and most importantly, you want to also add a CTA button here for them to be able to track the progress of their delivery, right? At email number 5, if you do your things right, the product should have gotten delivered to their doorstep by now. So you want to visually demonstrate the product in use immediately after unboxing, and give them a few how-to tips in this email. For email number 6, you want to congratulate their first use, right? You want to actually commemorate the fact that they use your product for the first time. So you frame the email as a very value first email. Show them a few UGCs here also, and then most importantly, if you have a complementary product to whatever product they just bought, or a low cost product, this is where you want to start soft selling them on that product. So just give a soft upsell plus social proof, highlighting how that upsell helped a certain customer. And then if your brand is made for this is not going to be for every e-commerce brand. For the brand that has a loyalty program, this is where email number 7 is where you start to talk about your loyalty program and how they can qualify for it. So yes, post-purchase flow is typically like the third most revenue driving flow. For this brand, they didn't really do that much, but yeah, you can see it leads the customer to become like the most to spend the most money with you, so to speak. Increases their lifetime value. So as for this brand, you can see it's the third highest revenue driver. You can see about 23k from the fulfilled order flow. I sort of like splitted it. I typically split it between a placed order and fulfilled order metric, and you can see about 28k is coming from the post-purchase flow there. 28k that the brand would probably not make if the post-purchase flow wasn't robust or existent. Now for the Winback flow, finally, you want to also be there for customers that purchased from you before, and for some reason they haven't they stop purchasing in over 75 to 120 days, depending on the ideal timeline, product use timeline of your product. So the trigger is typically that the customer hasn't purchased for 75 to 120 days. If you're a brand that, yeah, like I said, it depends on brands. If you're a brand that requires purchase, if you're a brand with product that requires purchase consistently, so this differs by brand. You're going to have to be like the best person to define how many days it takes for a customer to buy again from you, and if it extends past those days, maybe they are at risk of churning. So the sweet spot is 2 to 3 emails. The customer's mood is it's been a while, they don't remember you anymore. Oh, I've seen cheaper, quicker options lately, please leave me alone. Or, oh, has the formula or service or products improved, or is it the same old? Right, they probably have objections like that. And then finally they are probably like, oh, do I even need this again? Right, they probably reached the point where they've outgrown your brand. As you can see, the hue of the colors of these emails are sort of like very light, so there's not much interest here. So that's why you need to, right out of the bat, in email 1, acknowledge your absence, show bestsellers, and offer an incentive right out of the bat. So that incentive, if they are still in a situation in their life where they can buy your product, the incentive will serve as a very strong exciter, so to speak, right? Excites them, enthusiasm builder or something like that, makes them enthusiastic and wants to, like, okay, let me try this discount. After all, everybody wants to save money one way or the other. So offer an incentive in email 1, acknowledge your absence. Email number 2, remind them of the incentive offer, show recent testimonials, and then if email number 1 add bestsellers, you want to show new arrivals. Tell them specifically that this product you're showcasing in this email is a new arrival and they should get on it ASAP. And then email number 3, at this point, if they still haven't made a purchase, then you want to clearly state that this is the final email in the series. Reinforce what they will be missing out if they stop purchasing from your brand. And how you do that, you showcase product and you showcase benefits of those products, stack those benefits. And finally, you want to offer them an option to unsubscribe right in this email, right? Because it does not make sense for you, neither does it make sense for them to keep receiving your emails if they're not going to purchase anymore. So give them an easy way out. So if you do very well, your customer Winback flow should actually make some revenue for you. And as you can see here, it is making some for this brand here. About 5k is being returned back. So yes, that's typically it. If you have how would I put it, if you have an e-commerce brand and you don't have at least one of these flows, take this video as a sign that you're definitely losing out on a ton of revenue. Now you could pull back into ads, or could sort of like make you break even, so to speak, right? Get this rolled out for your brand. And I hope this video was valuable. I hope everything that I mentioned in this video was valuable and you understand. If you have any questions, just hit me up in the comments and I'll find time to answer them specifically and very contextually. Thank you for watching this video. Hope you have a good day. Peace.